In the heart of a bustling city, where the echoes of laughter often drown out the whispers of pain, a group of young men found amusement in their own bravado. Their jeers and taunts filled the air, targeting a solitary figure who walked with a quiet dignity that belied the storm within. This man, an African-American veteran of the Vietnam War, bore the scars of battle not just on his body, but etched deep within his soul. As the sun dipped low, casting long shadows on the pavement, the bullies reveled in their misguided power, unaware that the man they mocked held stories that could silence their laughter forever. The setting was a familiar one, a park where community members gathered, a space meant for connection but often marred by conflict. It was here, on a seemingly ordinary afternoon, that the lives of these young men would intersect with a history they had yet to comprehend. The veteran, with his weathered face and a gaze that seemed to pierce through the facade of bravado, had walked this path many times before, each step a reminder of sacrifices made and battles fought far from home. Yet, today was different. The air crackled with tension as their cruel words hung heavy, challenging the very essence of respect and humanity. As the taunts escalated, the veteran remained stoic, embodying the resilience that had carried him through the jungles of Vietnam. He had learned long ago that courage wasn't just about facing physical foes, but also about confronting the ignorance that often lurked in the hearts of others. With each derisive comment, he felt the weight of his experiences pressing down, yet he chose to stand tall, a silent testament to the strength born from hardship. It was a moment suspended in time, where the bravado of youth collided with the wisdom of lived experience, and the stakes were higher than any of them realized. Then, in a twist that would shift the energy of the encounter, the veteran finally spoke, his voice steady yet filled with the gravity of his past. He shared a glimpse of his journey, recounting the camaraderie of fellow soldiers, the chaos of war, and the profound lessons learned in the face of adversity. The bullies, initially caught in their own web of derision, began to feel the tremors of doubt ripple through their bravado. They were confronted not just with a man, but with a legacy, a narrative that challenged their perceptions and forced them to reckon with the weight of their actions. As the sun set, casting a golden hue over the park, the atmosphere shifted. The laughter that once echoed turned into a hushed silence, a collective moment of reflection as the weight of the veteran's words sank in. It was a powerful reminder of the impact one voice can have, a call to empathy that reverberated far beyond that day. In the end, the encounter transformed not only the bullies' understanding of respect, but also the veterans' belief in the possibility of change. The park, once a battleground of mockery, became a space of potential redemption, where the past and present intertwined, leaving an indelible mark on all who witnessed it. In a small town nestled between rolling hills and bustling streets, the sun dipped low on the horizon, casting long shadows over the local park. The air was thick with the scent of freshly cut grass and the distant sounds of laughter from children playing. It was a typical Saturday afternoon where families gathered for picnics and friends met to unwind. Yet beneath the surface of this idyllic scene, a storm was brewing. A group of teenagers, emboldened by their own bravado, roamed the park, seeking amusement in the form of taunts and jeers. Their laughter echoed, sharp and cruel, as they spotted a lone figure sitting on a bench. He was a middle-aged man, his skin a deep shade of mahogany, with a weathered face that told stories of a life well lived. His posture was relaxed, but there was a quiet strength about him that seemed to radiate from within. As the teenagers approached, their voices grew louder, filled with mockery. They hurled insults, unaware of the man's past, unaware of the battles he had fought, not just in the jungles of Vietnam, but in the very fabric of society itself. The man, however, remained composed, his eyes reflecting a mixture of sadness and resilience as he listened to their taunts. The group of teenagers, emboldened by their perceived superiority, continued their tirade. They were unaware that the man they were mocking had once worn the uniform of a soldier, had once stood on the front lines, fighting for a country that often failed to recognize the sacrifices of its veterans. Memories of gunfire and camaraderie flickered through his mind, reminding him of the brotherhood he had found among his fellow soldiers. Yet here he was, confronted not by the enemy he had faced in war, but by the ignorance of youth, a different kind of battle altogether. As the taunts grew more personal, the man felt a surge of emotion, a blend of anger and pity for those who knew so little of the world beyond their own narrow experiences. Just as the situation seemed poised to escalate, a shift occurred. A passerby, an elderly woman with a cane, stopped to observe the unfolding scene. She had lived through her share of struggles and had seen the scars of war etched into the faces of those who had returned home. With a firm voice, she called out to the teenagers, reminding them of the sacrifices made by men like the one they were belittling. Her words hung in the air, momentarily silencing the group. The man turned to her, his heart swelling with gratitude, recognizing the solidarity in her defense. In that brief moment, the teenagers were confronted with the weight of their actions. The laughter faded, replaced by an awkward silence as they exchanged glances. Perhaps they began to understand that the man before them was not just a target for their jokes, but a living testament to courage and resilience. The sun continued its descent, casting a golden hue over the park, illuminating the nuances of humanity, the strength found in vulnerability, the lessons learned in humility, and the importance of respect for those who have walked paths far different from their own. Join our vibrant community today and unlock a world of inspiration and growth. By subscribing, you'll gain access to exclusive insights, share your thoughts in the comments, and connect with like-minded individuals who are passionate about making a difference. Your voice matters, and together we can fuel each other's journeys. Don't miss out. Take the leap and become part of something truly transformative. In a bustling urban park, a group of teenagers loitered, their laughter echoing through the air, but the atmosphere quickly shifted as they spotted an older African-American man sitting alone on a bench. His weathered face and worn clothing marked him as someone who had lived a life rich with stories. Yet to the teens, he was merely a target for their mockery. They began to hurl insults, their words sharp and unkind, unaware of the profound history that lay behind the man's stoic demeanor. This moment of cruelty, fueled by ignorance and prejudice, highlights the ongoing struggle against bullying, particularly against marginalized individuals who often bear the brunt of societal biases. As the taunts continued, the man remained silent, his eyes reflecting a deep well of experience. It was not until one of the teenagers, emboldened by the laughter of his peers, stepped closer and shouted a particularly harsh insult that the man finally spoke. His voice, though steady, carried the weight of his past. "I fought for this country in Vietnam," he said, each word deliberate and powerful. The revelation hung in the air, momentarily silencing the mockers. For a brief moment, the laughter faded, replaced by a palpable tension as the teens grappled with the reality that the man they had belittled was a veteran, someone who had sacrificed for their freedoms. This encounter serves as a poignant reminder of the complexities of identity and the often hidden narratives that shape individuals. The man's service in Vietnam was not just a footnote in his life. It was a defining chapter that informed his resilience and shaped his worldview. The significance of this moment lies in the stark contrast between the teenager's initial perception and the reality of the man's lived experience. It underscores the necessity of empathy and understanding, especially in a society that frequently overlooks the contributions of those who are marginalized. The teenagers, confronted with the truth, were forced to reconsider their actions and the weight of their words. As the initial shock wore off, the group's demeanor began to shift. One of the teens, a girl who had been quiet until now, stepped forward. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice softening. "I didn't know." This moment of vulnerability opened a door for dialogue, allowing the man to share his experiences in Vietnam, the challenges he faced upon returning home, and the unrelenting struggle for respect and dignity that many veterans, particularly African-American veterans, continue to endure. This exchange not only humanized the man, but also offered the teenagers a glimpse into the broader societal issues of racism and the often unseen struggles of those who have served. The significance of this encounter extends beyond the park bench. It serves as a microcosm of the larger societal issues that persist today. It highlights the importance of fostering understanding and compassion in our communities. By sharing stories and engaging in open conversations, we can begin to dismantle the barriers of ignorance that lead to bullying and discrimination. In a world that often prioritizes division, moments like these remind us of our shared humanity and the power of empathy to transform lives. On a chilly autumn afternoon in a bustling urban park, a group of teenagers gathered, their laughter echoing through the trees. They were oblivious to the world around them, lost in their own bubble of youthful exuberance. Nearby, an elderly African-American man sat on a bench, his weathered face telling stories of a life filled with challenges and triumphs. As the teens noticed him, their laughter turned to jeers, mocking his worn-out jacket and unkempt appearance. What began as playful banter quickly escalated into a cruel spectacle, with the group hurling insults that cut deeper than they could imagine. Unbeknownst to them, the man was not just any ordinary figure. He was a Vietnam veteran, a member of a generation that fought and sacrificed for a country that often turned its back on them. In the wake of recent events, highlighting racial tensions and the treatment of veterans, this incident serves as a stark reminder of the pervasive ignorance that still exists in society. Statistics reveal that nearly 40% of veterans face discrimination, and African American veterans often bear the brunt of this bias. The urgent need to bridge the gap in understanding the experiences of marginalized individuals, especially those who have served their country, has never been more pressing. The mocking teenagers, in their ignorance, failed to recognize the man's valor and the sacrifices he made, blinded by their own prejudices and misconceptions. This moment encapsulates a larger societal issue, a lack of awareness about the struggles faced by veterans, particularly those from minority backgrounds. As the taunts continued, the man remained silent, his eyes reflecting a mixture of pain and resilience. He had fought in a war that many had forgotten, returning to a society that often failed to acknowledge his contributions. The core problem lies in the disconnect between generations and cultures. The teenagers were unaware of the historical context that shaped the man's life. They saw only a frail figure, not realizing they were mocking someone who had endured the horrors of war and the subsequent battles of reintegration into civilian life. This knowledge gap fosters a cycle of misunderstanding and disrespect, perpetuating stereotypes that can have devastating effects on individuals and communities. The incident reached a turning point when one of the teenagers, a young woman, hesitated, her laughter fading as she caught a glimpse of the man's eyes. It was a moment of realization, a flicker of empathy ignited within her. She stepped forward, breaking the group's dynamic, and asked the man about his experiences. This simple act of curiosity transformed the atmosphere as the other teens slowly quieted down, drawn into the conversation. The veteran began to share his story, recounting the camaraderie he found in the jungles of Vietnam and the isolation he felt upon returning home. As the narrative unfolded, the teenagers began to grasp the weight of their actions and the importance of understanding the lives of those who came before them. This encounter underscores the critical need for dialogue and education about the experiences of African American veterans. As society grapples with issues of race and respect, it is imperative to foster understanding and empathy. The urgency to address these knowledge gaps is not just about the past. It is about shaping a future where respect and recognition replace mockery and ignorance. By sharing stories and engaging in conversations, we can honor those who served and ensure that their sacrifices are never forgotten. In a small town, a group of young men, fueled by bravado and a misguided sense of superiority, find amusement in targeting those they perceive as vulnerable. Their laughter echoes through the streets as they mock an older African American man, unaware of the profound story etched in the lines of his face. This man, seemingly an easy target, carries the weight of experiences that transcend the petty cruelty of youth. The bullies, blinded by their own ignorance, fail to recognize the depth of his identity, which is interwoven with resilience and sacrifice. As the taunts continue, the atmosphere shifts subtly. The man stands tall, his demeanor calm yet resolute. He has weathered storms far greater than the jeers of these young men. The memories of his youth in a segregated America, coupled with his service in Vietnam, have shaped him into a figure of quiet strength. He is not merely a victim of their mockery. He embodies the struggles and triumphs of a generation that fought for dignity and respect. This moment of confrontation serves as a reminder of the complexities of identity and the often overlooked narratives that lie beneath the surface. The bullies, emboldened by their numbers, initially see only a target for their derision. However, as the man stands his ground, a palpable tension fills the air. The laughter begins to fade, replaced by an uneasy silence. The young men are confronted with an unexpected reality. The man they sought to belittle is not just a stranger, but a symbol of courage and sacrifice. His presence challenges their preconceived notions, forcing them to reconsider their actions and the impact of their words. It becomes clear that their mockery is not just an act of bullying, but an affront to the legacy of those who have fought against oppression. In this pivotal moment, the man shares his story, recounting his experiences in Vietnam and the struggles he faced upon returning home. His voice, steady and powerful, resonates with the weight of history. He speaks of camaraderie forged in the heat of battle, of the scars, both visible and invisible, that remain long after the fighting has ceased. The bullies, who once saw only a target, now find themselves captivated by the man's narrative. They begin to grasp the significance of his experiences, realizing that their laughter was not only misplaced, but deeply disrespectful. As the man's story unfolds, the dynamics of the encounter shift dramatically. The young men, once filled with bravado, now stand in a state of reflection. They are confronted with the reality that their actions have consequences that extend beyond the moment. The man's dignity and strength challenge their understanding of what it means to be a hero and a victim. They begin to see him not as an object of ridicule, but as a mentor who embodies resilience in the face of adversity. This encounter serves as a powerful lesson about empathy, understanding, and the importance of recognizing the humanity in others. It highlights the need for dialogue and connection across generational and racial divides. As the young men walk away, their perspectives altered. They carry with them the weight of the man's story, a reminder that true strength lies not in belittling others, but in honoring their journeys and recognizing the shared struggles that unite us all. In a bustling urban neighborhood, a group of young men often gathered at the local park, their laughter echoing off the pavement. Yet beneath their jovial facade lay a darker inclination to mock those they deemed different. One day their attention turned to an older African-American man sitting quietly on a bench, lost in thought. Unbeknownst to them, this man was a Vietnam veteran, a life filled with stories of bravery and sacrifice hidden beneath the surface of his unassuming demeanor. As the bullies approached, their jeers began as a trivial game, but the man remained stoic, refusing to engage. Instead, he chose to embody resilience, a trait he had honed during his years of service. Recognizing that confrontation would only escalate the situation, he opted for a different approach. He began to share snippets of his past, recounting tales of camaraderie with fellow soldiers and the challenges they faced. His voice, steady and calm, began to draw the attention of not only the bullies, but also passers-by who paused to listen. In that moment, the methodology of storytelling emerged as a powerful tool. The man's narratives were not just personal, they were universal themes of courage, sacrifice, and humanity. As he spoke, he painted vivid images of the jungles of Vietnam, the friendships forged in adversity, and the haunting memories that lingered long after the war. The young men, initially fueled by bravado, found themselves captivated by his words. They began to realize that the man before them was not just a target for mockery, but a wellspring of wisdom and experience. To further impact the situation, the man invited the bullies to share their own stories. This unexpected shift allowed for a dialogue that transformed the dynamic. Each young man began to reveal their struggles, whether it was the pressure of societal expectations or personal insecurities. Through this exchange, a bridge formed between generations and backgrounds, fostering empathy where there was once disdain. The bullies, confronted with the reality of their actions, began to question their behavior and the motivations behind it. The impact of this interaction extended beyond that day in the park. The man's willingness to engage in dialogue and share his experiences prompted a ripple effect within the community. Inspired by his courage, other veterans began to speak out, sharing their own stories in local schools and community centers. This initiative not only educated younger generations about the realities of war, but also highlighted the importance of respect and understanding across diverse backgrounds. In practical terms, communities can foster similar dialogues by organizing storytelling events or workshops where individuals from various backgrounds come together to share their experiences. Schools can implement programs that encourage students to engage with local veterans, creating opportunities for mentorship and learning. These actionable steps can help dismantle prejudices, promote understanding, and build a more inclusive society. Ultimately, the encounter in the park became a transformative moment, illustrating how empathy and storytelling can dismantle barriers. The bullies left that day with a newfound respect for the man they had once mocked, understanding that every individual carries a story worth hearing. In this way, The narrative of the Vietnam veteran not only changed the hearts of a few young men, but also sparked a broader conversation about compassion and connection within the community. In a bustling urban park, a scene unfolds that encapsulates the complexities of human interaction and the potential for transformation. A group of young men, emboldened by their own insecurities, begins to mock an African-American man sitting quietly on a bench. Unbeknownst to them, this man carries the weight of a profound history. He is a Vietnam veteran, a title that brings with it a tapestry of experiences that most in the group could scarcely comprehend. The initial taunts, laced with ignorance and bravado, reveal not only the bullies' lack of understanding, but also the pervasive societal issues of prejudice and disrespect toward those who have served their country. As the mockery escalates, the veteran remains composed, embodying a quiet strength that draws the attention of passers-by. This moment serves as a critical turning point. Rather than retaliating with anger or contempt, he chooses to engage the bullies with a calm demeanor, sharing snippets of his journey, stories of camaraderie, sacrifice, and the harsh realities of war. Research shows that personal storytelling can significantly shift perspectives. When individuals hear authentic narratives, they are more likely to empathize and reconsider their preconceived notions. The bullies, initially driven by a desire to assert dominance, begin to falter in their bravado as they hear tales of resilience and bravery that starkly contrast their own shallow bravado. The atmosphere shifts, the laughter fades, replaced by a palpable tension as they grapple with the weight of their actions and the man's lived experiences. In this moment, the veteran becomes a catalyst for change. He embodies the power of vulnerability, demonstrating that strength is not merely about physical prowess or bravado, but also about the courage to share one's truth. His approach aligns with expert opinions on conflict resolution, emphasizing the importance of dialogue and understanding over aggression. By inviting the bullies into a conversation rather than a confrontation, he opens a door to mutual respect and reflection. This is not just a lesson for the young men, it serves as a reminder to all witnesses that every individual carries a story that deserves recognition and respect, regardless of their background. As the conversation unfolds, the bullies begin to reflect on their behavior, recognizing the futility of their actions. They find themselves confronted not only by the veterans' stories, but also by their own insecurities and the societal pressures that fueled their need to belittle others. This realization marks a pivotal moment of growth. They begin to apologize, not just to the veteran, but to themselves for allowing ignorance to dictate their actions. The veteran, embodying grace, accepts their apologies, emphasizing the importance of learning from mistakes and moving forward with a renewed sense of purpose. In this narrative, the transformation is profound. The bullies, once lost in a cycle of mockery, leave with a newfound respect for the veteran and a deeper understanding of the complexities of human experience. It is a reminder that even in the most challenging situations, there lies the potential for growth, empathy, and healing. Through the power of storytelling and dialogue, barriers can be broken and connections forged, illustrating that respect and understanding can triumph over ignorance and prejudice. In a small town, a group of bullies, emboldened by ignorance and prejudice, targeted an African-American man walking alone. Their jeers echoed through the streets, fueled by a toxic blend of bravado and entitlement. However, unbeknownst to them, this man was not just a victim. He was a Vietnam veteran, a member of a generation that faced unimaginable challenges, both abroad and at home. The complexities of his experience highlight the often overlooked narratives of African-American veterans who have historically faced discrimination not only in society, but also within the military itself. The Vietnam War was a watershed moment in American history, marked by deep divisions and social upheaval. African Americans served in disproportionate numbers during the conflict, often placed in combat roles, despite being a minority in the overall military population. Research indicates that while African Americans made up roughly 13% of the U.S. Vietnam, this stark disparity underscores the systemic issues within military recruitment and assignment practices, which often marginalized black soldiers, placing them in the line of fire while simultaneously denying them equal treatment upon their return home. Upon returning, many veterans, especially those of color, encountered a society that had not only failed to honor their sacrifices, but also perpetuated the very discrimination they fought against. A report from the U Department of Veterans Affairs highlights that African American veterans are more likely to experience homelessness and unemployment compared to their white counterparts. This systemic neglect has roots in a broader history of racial inequality, which has left many veterans struggling to reintegrate into civilian life, often facing stigma and lack of support. As the bullies hurled their insults, they were oblivious to the resilience that defined the man they targeted. His service in Vietnam was not merely a chapter of his life, it was a testament to his courage and commitment to a country that had often turned its back on him. Veterans like him have been pivotal in shaping the narrative of American heroism, yet their stories are frequently overshadowed by the dominant discourse that fails to acknowledge the intersection of race and military service. The experiences of African American veterans reveal a complex tapestry of valor and vulnerability, challenging the simplistic portrayals often found in popular media. When the bullies learned of his military service, their taunts faltered, replaced by a mixture of fear and respect. This moment of realization illuminated the power dynamics at play, illustrating how ignorance can be dismantled through understanding. The shift in their demeanor serves as a reminder that education and awareness can bridge divides, fostering empathy in the face of prejudice. Conversations about race and service are critical, as they not only honor the contributions of veterans, but also challenge societal norms that perpetuate discrimination. In the aftermath of the encounter, the African American veteran's story became a catalyst for dialogue within the community. Local organizations began to host events that highlighted the contributions of veterans of color, aiming to educate the public about their sacrifices and the ongoing struggles they face. These initiatives reflect a growing recognition of the need to address historical injustices and create a more inclusive narrative that honors all who have served. Ultimately, the encounter between the bullies and the veteran underscores a profound truth. Understanding and respect can emerge from the most unlikely circumstances. By confronting prejudice with the weight of lived experience, individuals can inspire change and foster a more compassionate society. In the poignant narrative of So For, bullies mock an African American man, but discover he is a Vietnam veteran. We witness a powerful confrontation between prejudice and the complexities of individual identity. The story unfolds as a group of bullies targets an African American man, initially viewing him through a lens of ignorance and bias. Their mockery stems from a superficial understanding, rooted in stereotypes that fail to recognize the man's rich life experiences and sacrifices. This dynamic sets the stage for a deeper exploration of how societal perceptions can distort reality, often leading to unjust treatment of individuals based solely on their appearance or background. As the narrative progresses, a pivotal moment occurs when the bullies learn that the man they have been mocking is a Vietnam veteran. This revelation acts as a catalyst, forcing the bullies to reassess their actions and attitudes. The weight of the man's service and the sacrifices he made for his country challenge their preconceived notions and compel them to confront their own biases. This shift in perspective serves as a critical turning point, illustrating the profound impact that understanding and empathy can have in dismantling prejudice. The story underscores the importance of recognizing the humanity in others, regardless of their background, and highlights the often overlooked stories of those who have served in the military. The narrative also delves into the theme of respect and dignity, emphasizing how the man's status as a veteran commands a certain level of acknowledgement that transcends the superficial judgments made by the bullies. The contrast between the initial mockery and the eventual respect that emerges illustrates a broader societal message about the need for compassion and understanding. The bullies' transformation from aggressors to individuals who reflect on their behavior showcases the potential for personal growth and change when confronted with the realities of another's life. This evolution serves as a reminder that everyone carries a story worth hearing, and that genuine connection can arise from moments of vulnerability and honesty. As we approach the final resolution of this narrative, it is essential to reflect on the lessons learned from this encounter. The story not only highlights the dangers of prejudice, but also emphasizes the power of redemption and the possibility of change. The bully's journey toward understanding illustrates that awareness can lead to a more profound respect for others, fostering a sense of community that transcends racial and social divides. The narrative ultimately invites the audience to consider their own perceptions and biases, urging a collective movement toward empathy and acceptance. In conclusion, so far, Bullies mock an African-American man, but discover he is a Vietnam veteran serves as a compelling exploration of identity, respect, and the transformative power of understanding. The resolution offers a hopeful vision for a future where individuals are judged not by the color of their skin or their past, but by the depth of their character and the experiences that shape them. This story leaves us with a call to action, to engage with one another with kindness and curiosity, recognizing the shared humanity that binds us all. In a poignant narrative that highlights the complexities of human behavior and the power of understanding, the story of an African-American man, a Vietnam veteran, serves as a catalyst for change. Initially subjected to mockery by a group of bullies, this man embodies resilience and strength, revealing that the true essence of a person often lies beneath the surface. His experiences in the war have shaped him into a figure of dignity, and his journey becomes a lesson in empathy for those who initially judged him. The bullies, upon discovering his background, are confronted with their own prejudices and ignorance, leading to a transformative moment that underscores the importance of respect and recognition for all individuals, regardless of their past. To effectively address the underlying issues of bullying and discrimination highlighted in this narrative, it is crucial to implement a multifaceted approach that engages the community, schools, and local organizations. First, educational programs focusing on the history and contributions of veterans, particularly from diverse backgrounds, can foster a greater understanding and appreciation for their sacrifices. These programs should be integrated into school curricula and community workshops, encouraging discussions that challenge stereotypes and promote inclusivity. By providing a platform for veterans to share their stories, we can humanize their experiences and dismantle the barriers of ignorance that perpetuate bullying. Moreover, creating safe spaces for dialogue is essential. Community forums and support groups can facilitate open conversations about race, identity, and the impact of bullying. These gatherings should invite individuals from various backgrounds, including veterans, to share their experiences and insights. By fostering an environment of mutual respect and understanding, we can cultivate empathy among participants, allowing them to recognize the humanity in one another. This strategy not only addresses the immediate issue of bullying, but also contributes to building a more cohesive community, where diversity is celebrated rather than marginalized. In addition to educational initiatives and community dialogues, it is vital to establish clear policies and support systems within schools and organizations to address bullying effectively. Anti-bullying campaigns should be reinforced with actionable steps, such as training for teachers and staff on recognizing and responding to bullying behavior. Implementing peer mentorship programs can empower students to stand against bullying, creating a culture of support and accountability. By equipping individuals with the tools to intervene and advocate for their peers, we can shift the narrative from one of victimization to one of empowerment. The expected outcomes of these strategies are profound. By fostering an environment that values education, dialogue, and support, we can significantly reduce incidents of bullying and discrimination. As individuals learn to appreciate the diverse experiences of others, the community will become more united, resilient, and compassionate. The story of the Vietnam veteran serves as a reminder that beneath the surface lies a wealth of experience and wisdom, waiting to be acknowledged. Now is the time to act. Engage with local schools, community centers, and veteran organizations to initiate these programs and discussions. Together, we can create a lasting impact that not only honors the sacrifices of veterans, but also builds a future where respect and understanding prevail over ignorance and prejudice. In the unfolding narrative of Bullies mock an African-American man, but discover he is a Vietnam veteran, the interplay of identity and perception emerges as a powerful theme. The initial encounter reveals a stark contrast between the bully's superficial judgments and the profound reality of the man's life experiences. Their actions stem from ignorance, fueled by societal stereotypes that often cloud understanding and empathy. However, as the story progresses, the revelation of the man's military service serves as a catalyst for transformation, not just for the bullies, but for the audience as well. This moment underscores the importance of looking beyond appearances and preconceived notions, inviting us to consider the complex histories that shape individuals. The narrative deftly illustrates how the act of understanding can dismantle prejudice and foster respect, highlighting the potential for growth in even the most unlikely circumstances. As the bullies confront the truth of their actions and the weight of the man's service, a shift occurs. The initial mockery gives way to a deeper reflection on honor, sacrifice, and the shared humanity that connects us all. This pivotal moment serves as a reminder that every person carries a story worth hearing, one that can challenge our biases and compel us to reconsider our judgments. The transformation of the bullies is not merely a plot device. It encapsulates a broader societal lesson about the necessity of empathy in bridging divides. It urges us to engage with one another on a level that transcends superficial differences, fostering a culture of understanding and respect. In the end, the narrative resonates with a profound truth that our greatest strength lies in our ability to connect with others, to listen and learn from their experiences. The journey from mockery to respect exemplifies the potential for change that exists within us all. It encourages a collective introspection, prompting us to examine our own biases and the ways we interact with those who are different from us. As we reflect on this story, let it inspire us to approach each encounter with an open heart and a willingness to understand, reminding us that the bonds of humanity can triumph over ignorance and that through compassion we can create a more inclusive world.